When Royal Enfield invited me to the North American launch of the Himalayan 450, I was both flattered and surprised. I love a good scramble, but I'm not a seasoned off-roader, and I kind of proved that on this trip. But at the end of the day, how could I pass up on the weekend ride through the Utah mountains? The Himalayan has made its name as an affordable, capable adventure machine. From entry-level riders to globetrotters like Itchy Boots, who rode the Himalayan 411 on her first season of riding from Asia to Europe. But the 411 had its shortcomings, mainly its 24 horsepower, 439 pounds of wet weight, and lack of ABS switch. Meaning the Himalayan 450 has some big boots to fill, and I was undeniably excited to put it through its paces while pushing the limits of my own riding ability. So the Utah mountains were calling my name. But before we headed out, I went downstairs to meet the team behind the bike and learn some more. In the last decade, Enfield have gone from selling one motorcycle model in the US to 11 as of 2024, and if you're interested in checking them out, they have over 170 dealers across the country. Mark Wells, the head of design at Enfield, walked us through the design process of the 450, from the sketches to clay modelling and the engine design. He described the ethos of the bike as effortless highway riding, improved overtaking ability, and fun. That seemed backed up with the bike boasting 40 horsepower compared to the older model's 24. The Tripper Dash is this all-up digital display, which might have some riders cringing at the thought of it, but given the bike's adventure focus, I think it makes sense. You can connect your phone, navigate, and change some settings. The best part about the Dash is it's pretty minimal, no fanciness, just navigation and rider modes for ABS on and off. The stock seat is adjustable, you can take it off and change it from 32.5 inch seat height to 33.3, a nice detail for shorter riders. We'd be riding the Utah mountains, with the promise of endless views and plenty of dirt, so with that in mind we took for the road. First impressions, just how unintimidating the bike felt. I jumped on, started it up and felt comfortable instantly. No worrying about the seat height or trying to feel out the center of gravity, just up and go. Once we hit the highway, it actually surprised me. It's not out here to win drag races, but it has enough pull to keep things interesting. Cruising at 70, even 80 wasn't a problem. Yeah, there's a bit of a buzz, but it's all part of the charm. Keeps you awake. From the highway we took to the mountains, where we were met with, well, as promised, dirt. With a bit of target fixation, I found myself veering towards this ravine, but I managed to save it just as things got messy and carried on. The bike is light enough that if you make a mistake, picking it up isn't too much of a challenge, and that would come in handy later. Our first pit stop was in the middle of this canyon, and what a pit stop. We each waited for everyone to get some footage of riding through the canyon for the various press and creators in the group. This was the first time I got to admire the look of the bike in the appropriate setting. I don't have a history of adventure bikes, so I'm coming at this fresh. I usually like to swap out stock for more streamlined parts, but I'm not sure I would with this bike. Maybe tidy up the tail and swap out the mirrors for something smaller, but that's it. Here's how the footage turned out for the canyon ride. The bike felt right at home in the canyons, nimble enough to move through loose gravel and easy to make corrections to carve your path. I think the tyres could do with a little bit more of an aggressive tread for off-roading though, which we'd confirm later. And as I set off to grab more footage, little did I know what was waiting for me around the corner. So after we did that about 5 more times, it was onwards to the mountains. And why not stop for a picnic in the Uath Mountains? While chowing down on some sandwiches, we shared what we thought of the bike. Most mentioned they were riding in the performance mode because they preferred the responsiveness, and of course turning off ABS was essential. It's a simple machine with minimal tech, so most of us shared our enjoyment for the trail and the ride. I mean, what else do you need, as long as you feel comfortable? With full bellies we set for the trails, which promised even more mountain views. And it did not disappoint. Maybe I was enjoying the views a little bit too much when I found myself in this pickle. Honestly, it looks worse than it felt, and I was more worried about the bike. Let's just say those tank bars came in handy, and one of the Enfield guys gave me a hand picking up the bike. A quick dust off and a moment to collect myself, and I was back down the mountain. As the terrain turned from gravel to mud, the tyres started to show their shortcomings, as did I, again. Honestly, with each fall I found myself enjoying the bike a little bit more. It's forgiving, and damn was I testing its patience. So with only my ego damaged, we continued through the mud. Most of the group got stuck at this point. You see, while we were picnicking on the mountain, we had heard thunder, and I guess this is where it had rained, because the mud was caking the tyres. If you look closely, you can actually see my front tyre seizing up from sticking between the lower front mudguard and the tyre itself.
Next 100 yards that are like this. After this, it's going right here.
So eventually we pulled over, took a deep breath, tore the lower front mudguards off, and then proceeded to give them a piece of our mind. Thankfully, the bike is easy to maintain on the side of the road with the toolkit under the seat. And eventually we were all out of the mud and back on the road. And then suddenly, it all felt worth it. Of road, dirt, gravel and mud behind us, we welcomed the tarmac once more. I can safely say this bike left an impression on me. It inspires adventure, and I don't think you can ask for more from a bike. It might not be the lightest adventure bike, but it can take a beating, and it will push you further than you think you can go. The Himalayan 411 left its legacy, and it's safe to say the 450 is capable of leaving its own. You can tell from the state of my bike that I had a lot of fun, and that's what an adventure bike is all about. All that's left to say is, thanks for coming along on this trip with me. I hope you enjoyed it and got a sense of what the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 has to offer. I look forward to sharing another adventure with you very soon. Until next time.